Why did ancient humans bury their dead? Think about that for a moment. A small group of people. No cities, no writing, no hospitals, no temples, no books, no saints, no modern religion, no photographs, no names carved into stone, only fire, only tools, only memory, only each other. And yet, when someone died, they did not always just walk away. Sometimes they stopped, they gathered, they dug, they placed stones, they placed objects, they made a place that said something. Even if no words were written, even if no one alive today can hear their voices, the message still feels strangely clear. This person mattered. That is the mystery. Because burial is not easy. Digging takes energy. Tearing stones takes time. Choosing a place takes attention. Returning to that place takes memory. And for ancient people, energy was never cheap. Every hour mattered. Every tool mattered. Every safe moment mattered. So why spend time on the dead? Why make a grave? Why mark a place? Why place a tool, a shell, a red stone, or a flower-like object nearby? Why treat a body as something more than a body? The simple answer is practical. Many people think ancient humans buried the dead only to protect the living, to keep animals away, to avoid decay, to keep the camp clean. And yes, that may be part of the answer. A dead body can attract danger. A group must protect itself. Ancient people were practical. They lived in a world where every mistake could matter. But the practical answer does not explain everything, because some burials were careful. Some were placed in special positions. Some were covered. Some were surrounded by stones. Some had objects nearby. A tool, a shell, a pigment, a personal item, a sign that someone had stopped and paid attention. That is when the question becomes deeper. If burial was only about removing a body, why make it careful? Why make it meaningful? Why leave something behind? Why create a place that could be remembered? A grave is not just dirt. A grave is a message. It says, do not forget. It says, someone was here. It says, this life belonged to us. That may sound simple, but it is one of the most human ideas in history. Many animals notice death. Some animals pause near the dead. Some stay close. Some seem confused. Some seem distressed. Death is not invisible to them. But humans did something stranger. They turned death into a place. They turned absence into location. Someone was gone, but the place remained. The body would disappear, but the marker could stay. The person could no longer speak, but the group could still speak about them. That is the beginning of something powerful. Memory outside the body. Meaning placed into the world. A symbol, a ritual, a story, a place to return to. When a group buries someone, they are not just dealing with death. They are dealing with memory. And memory is one of the hidden powers of human life. A group survives by remembering. Where water is, which plants are safe, which paths are dangerous. When animals return. Where the shelter is, who knows how to make a tool, who helped during hunger, who protected a child, who carried fire, who taught the group how to live. The dead were not just bodies. They were voices, hands, stories, skills, warnings, promises, relationships. When someone died, the group lost more than one person. It lost a part of its memory. One voice was missing. One pair of hands was gone. One story stopped being told. One place at the fire became empty. That emptiness matters, because humans are not built to live as separate bodies only. We live inside relationships. A person is not just a person. A person is someone's child, someone's parent, someone's friend, someone's teacher, someone's partner, someone's memory, someone's reason to keep going. So when that person disappears, something changes in the group. The circle changes, the camp changes, the story changes. Burial gave that change a shape. It gave grief a place to stand. That may be one reason burial feels so human. Grief is not only sadness. Grief is memory with pain inside it. It is the mind reaching for someone who is no longer there. A grave gives that reaching a direction. You can be there. You can stand there. You can remember there. You can teach a child there. You can say, this is where we place them. And that matters. Because humans do not only live in the present. We live with yesterday. We imagine tomorrow. We carry people who are no longer here. That is unusual. And it may be one of the roots of culture. Culture begins when a group remembers together. Not just one person remembering alone, but many people sharing the same memory. A grave can help that happen. A child may point to the stones and ask, "Who was this?" And an elder can answer with a story. "He helped us find water. She knew the safe plants. He carried fire through the cold. She protected the children. He was part of us." In that moment, burial becomes teaching. The dead person becomes part of the group's education. The grave becomes a classroom without walls. A memory becomes a lesson, and the lesson crosses generations. This is important because ancient humans survived not only by being strong, they survived by learning from others. A child did not have to discover every danger alone. A young person did not have to repeat every mistake. The group could say, "Remember what happened. Remember who helped. Remember where we came from. Remember what matters." Burial may have helped memory stay organized, not as a written record, not as a book, but as a place, a marker, a story tied to the ground. That is why a grave can be more than a grave. It can become a map of belonging. It can say, "Our people were here. Our people lived here. Our people suffered here. Our people remember here." This is the link between burial and identity. Identity means knowing who we are. A group is not just people standing near each other. A group is shared memory, shared stories, shared loss, shared places, shared rules, shared symbols. When ancient people buried someone, they may have been doing more than caring for the dead. They may have been strengthening the living. They were creating a point of connection, a center of memory, a place where the group could understand itself. This is our place. This is our story. This is our loss. This is our memory. That is not just emotion. That is social glue. It helps hold people together. It reminds the group that life continues through relationships. It makes the group larger than the present moment. And humans needed that. Because human survival depends on cooperation. One person can make a tool, but a group can teach toolmaking. One person can remember a path, but a group can protect that memory. One person can grieve, but a group can turn grief into meaning. That is why burial may be one of the earliest signs of symbolic life. A symbol is something that means more than itself. A stone can be just a stone, but if the group places it carefully, it becomes a marker. A shell can be just a shell, but if it is placed beside the dead, it may become a sign. A small red stone can be just a colored rock, but in a burial, it may carry meaning. We have to be careful here. We cannot know exactly what every ancient person believed. We cannot hear their prayers. We cannot read their thoughts. We should not pretend we know more than the evidence allows, but we can see patterns. We can see care. We can see attention. We can see that death was not always ignored. They stopped. They gathered. They placed. They marked. They remembered. That alone tells us something. It tells us that ancient humans were not only reacting to the world, they were interpreting it. They were asking questions. Maybe not in the same words we use today, but in action. What happens when someone is gone? Where do they belong now? What do we do with love after the person is no longer here? How do we remember? How do we teach the young? How do we keep the group whole? Burial may be one answer, a quiet answer, a physical answer, the human answer. Here is the big turn. A burial is not only where a life ends, it is where a story begins. The person is gone, but the lesson remains. The name may remain. The place remains. The group changes around that memory. This may be one of the roots of ritual. Ritual means repeated meaning. You do something again and again, not because it is useful in the ordinary way, but because it helps the group feel, remember, and understand. You place a stone, you return, you speak, you pause, you teach, you remember. Over time, repeated memory becomes tradition, and tradition becomes culture. This is why burial is not just about sadness. It is a kind of social technology. Not technology like a machine, but technology in the deeper sense. A human invention that helps people live together. Tools help hands do more. Language helps minds connect. Fire helps bodies survive the cold. Burial may have helped memory survive absence. It made the invisible visible. It made grief shareable. It made belonging physical. It turned a person's life into a place the group could remember. That is powerful, and it still matters today, because we still do this. The tools changed, but the needs stay. We place names on stones. We keep photographs. We tell stories at funerals. We visit cemeteries. We build monuments. We save messages. We make digital memorials. We keep objects that belong to people we love. A watch, a ring, a shirt, a letter, a picture, a voice recording. To someone else, these may look like ordinary objects. But to us, they are not ordinary. They carry a person. They carry a story. They carry a feeling. They carry proof that someone existed. This is not so different from an ancient tool placed near a burial, or a shell, or a stone, or a marked place in the ground. The material changed. The human need did not. We still want to say, you were here. We still want to say, you mattered. We still want to say, we remember. That need may be very old, older than writing, older than cities, older than money, older than nations, older than most things we call civilization. Maybe before humans built walls, they built memory. Maybe before humans wrote history, they placed stones. Maybe before humans made monuments, they made graves. And maybe that is why ancient burials feel so moving. They reach across time. A person buried tens of thousands of years ago cannot speak. The group that buried them is gone. Their language is gone. Their names are gone. Their songs are gone. But the care remains visible. The act remains. The place remains. And we can still understand something about it. Not everything, but enough. Enough to feel that they were not empty creatures. They were not simple machines trying to survive. They were people with bonds. People with fear. People with memory. People with grief. People who noticed absence. People who created meaning around it. That is one of the deepest differences between living and being human. All living things struggle to survive. But humans ask what survival means. We do not only eat. We share meals. We do not only sleep. We build homes. We do not only make sounds. We tell stories. We do not only lose others. We remember them. Burial may be one of the earliest places where we can see that difference. A grave is quiet, but it speaks. It says that someone was not thrown away. It says that the group stopped moving for a moment. It says that the living made space for the dead. It says that memory mattered enough to cost energy, enough to cost time, enough to cost attention. That is a huge idea, because time and attention are survival resources. Ancient people did not waste them easily. If they spent time burying someone, that action had weight. It meant the dead were still connected to the living. It meant the group carried more than hunger and fear. They carried meaning, and meaning is one of the strangest human tools. You cannot hold it like a stone blade. You cannot eat it. You cannot drink it. But it can hold a group together. It can guide behavior. It can teach children. It can comfort grief. It can shape identity. It can turn a place into home. A burial is one of the simplest forms of that tool. A place, a marker, a memory, a story. That may be why ancient humans buried their dead. Not for one reason only. Not just safety, not just belief, not just sadness, not just tradition, but because all of those things meet in one act. Tear, fear, memory, teaching, identity, belief, love. A grave gathers them together. And when we look at ancient burials, we're not only looking at death. We are looking at the beginning of a very human question. How do we keep someone with us when they are gone? Every culture has answered that question differently. With stones, with songs, with names, with flowers, with stories, with silence, with photographs, with monuments, with prayers, with digital pages. But underneath all of those answers is the same ancient feeling. Do not disappear completely. Stay in our memory. Stay in our story. Stay in the place where we find you. Maybe this is why burial feels so human. It shows that humans saw more than bodies. They saw relationships. They saw memory. They saw a life that still mattered. And perhaps, in that moment, ancient humans were doing something that still defines us. They were refusing to let love end at the edge of death. They could not bring the person back. They could not stop time. They could not explain everything. But they could stop. They could gather. They could remember. They could make a place. And they could teach the next generation. This person was here. This person belonged to us. This person mattered. That is why a grave is not just a hole in the ground. It is one of humanity's oldest sentences, written without words, spoken in stone, harried by memory. and still understood thousands of years later.